What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Halftime Show with your host, Cortland Griffin. Today, I'm joined by some illustrious guests, some of the greatest people I've met and had the opportunity to work with. And this is, of course, the Halftime Show NFL Roundtable NFC East edition. If y'all tuned in last week, we did the AFC East, and if y'all thought that was toxic, y'all ain't seen this division. It's crazy. But first, man, I'm gonna introduce my guy, man, my editor, the guy who makes the magic happen with all of my articles, and he puts up with all of my crap, clerical errors and everything, man. Alex Babb, representing the New York Giants. What's good, Alex?
Nothing much. Just prepared to have to defend Daniel Jones a lot.
Got you. And then, man, my guy, more like a big brother. Man, guy's been rocking with me since before I met him. And then when I met him, blood couldn't make us any thicker. My guy Eric, representing his Philadelphia Eagles. What's good, Eric?
Good evening, sir. And don't think I forgot about your little comment on Monday.
Oh, I forget.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying, when you ready, you already know you already know. But I appreciate you having me on, brother.
For sure. And then I told y'all from the beginning we would have women in sports, and this lady right here is amazing. Anything Washington, she can talk more than just Washington, but anything Washington, she's your go-to lady. Miss Candy C. Waller. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, you all? Thank you so much for having me. This is gonna be fun.
Oh, for sure. You already know this is all about fun and also the NFL Roundtable. As much as toxicity happens and arguments and dialogue happens, right? This is about taking you around the league, getting you to know these teams. If you haven't picked a team, right, you can pick it from this show. This is what I wanted to kind of get people to know the different NFL teams and also have some fun with it, because I get to learn a lot hosting and listening to people who follow these teams 24/7, because as much as I know, I don't know everything. And that's the last time y'all ever hear me admit that. So, so let's go ahead and get started. And yes, we are down one guest, but she is on the way. And when she makes her entrance, believe me, it's going to be loud. My girl Ashley Baker will be on the way here shortly. So,
do we have to have her?
Oh, for sure. We can't have the show without the Cowboys, right? So we're gonna get started. It is what it is, man. We know the Washington Commanders, up and coming franchise. There was some ownership switching, and that's kind of, and still I think it's the worst. If I'm not wrong, I think it's still. I don't think the sale has gone through completely yet. But Taylor Heineke is out. He's now in Atlanta. Carson Wentz is somewhere in the NFL. Doing something, I don't know where. But Sam Howell, North Carolina product, right? 4th round draft pick, is now essentially going into the season as the number 1 quarterback on this roster. Candy, is he good enough to get this Washington team where they need to go?
I think so. I think Sam Howell is good enough, but it's not necessarily about Sam Howell. It's more so about Eric Bieniemy than it is about Sam Howell. So I'm anxious to see how Sam responds. This is a very different offense. You can already tell the difference in Sam and others of the rookies in their second year, and players overall, how they have to adjust to an Eric Bieniemy offense. So yes, Sam Howell, I got some faith there. I think he can get it done. I think when Coach Rivera made the decision to draft Sam after he had paid Carson Wentz $28 million. They knew they had locked in $28 million for Carson Wentz last year for 1 year. When he just made that decision to draft Sam Howell, it was because that was the insurance policy. That was if Carson Wentz does not work out, we have Sam Howell. The season leading up to that draft, the scouts in the Washington Commanders staff spent a lot of time following Sam Howell around, checking out his film, going to the games. So they have full confidence in Sam, and I believe that Sam has full confidence in himself as well as his teammates. Also, I think he can get it done.
Oh, for sure. And I'm a North Carolina Tar Heel football fan. You're gonna find too many of those around. So most of the UNC people are basketball people. I'm all sports. Anything UNC, I love it. And I think Sam is good enough. I think he's cut from a different cloth. Quiet guy, but it's a quiet confidence, and I like that about him. But moving on to the other up and coming, I should say up and coming. They've been around for a while. The New York Giants, man. It was a successful year. They crept up on a lot of people. Beat the snot out of my Titans last year. In a shocker. But most of that people contribute to his second year now, Brian Daboll. Is he good enough, Alex, to good enough of a coach to get them, which they made the playoffs and won a playoff game last year? Is he good enough to get them to the NFC Championship and beyond, and do something that not the Cowboys? We getting too far ahead. The Giants. Well, the Cowboys haven't done it either, but in a while. But can the Giants get to a Super Bowl, which they haven't done, I think, since 2010?
2012.
2012. Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, in theory, yeah, the NFC is more wide open than the AFC is. Other than Philly, nobody looks like a definite real strength right now, to me at least. But I think it's still going to be a lot of what you saw last year. The margin for victory, it's narrow. They have to not beat themselves, which they didn't do last year. They have to get timely turnovers, which they did last year. They should be a better team than they were last year with some of the improvements they've made, but that might not necessarily translate to more wins. They really overachieved last year. They're definitely on the right track, but I don't know getting to the NFC Championship is necessarily a realistic goal.
Okay. I mean, when you got guys like Dalvin Cook still floating around, and you can maybe pair him with Saquon and get Danny Dimes some more targets. I don't know, it may work. But on paper, right, this team won the division last year, made it to the Super Bowl, and on paper they may be the best team in all of the NFL. I would say, I'm gonna ask Eric, with all the additions that you guys made, Jalen Carter, bringing back Slay, adding to the offense, are y'all the best team, not only in the NFC East, but in the entire league?
In the NFC East, yes. In the entire NFC conference, yes. In the entire NFL, no. Because we are not the Super Bowl champs. That would be the Kansas City Chiefs. And I can't sit here, as much as I would love to sit here and say to you that we are the best team in the NFL. The fact of the matter is we're not. Because we came this close to winning, and unfortunately we're unsuccessful. But as far as the NFC goes, I don't care if you're Kirk Cousins. I don't care if you're Dak Prescott. I don't care if you're Sam Howell. I don't care if you're Daniel Jones. I don't care if you're the number one draft pick, whose name escapes me right now for Carolina. I don't care if you're Baker Mayfield down in Tampa. You find me a better quarterback in the NFC other than Jalen Hurts. Don't worry, I'll wait. That's my point right there. No one can argue that with me. What Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman have done this offseason in a very short window was make sure that their core nucleus was established. And then from there, made the necessary adjustments to make sure that we would be the first team in probably the last, I'm going to say, 7 years, 8 years, probably longer than that, to actually repeat as division champions. So what Philly has done, and what I'm so happy about, is the simple fact that we didn't go after the flashy. We didn't go after what the hot commodity was. We said, let's keep it all in-house. Let's do what we need to do, and let's get ourselves back to where we were. Because everybody has said this since the offseason. The Eagles on that day, Super Bowl, were the better team. It's just Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Eric Bieniemy at the time, and that entire Kansas City Chiefs was just a little bit better.
Well, Eric Bieniemy is back in the division, so I don't know. It might be a little tighter race if that's what the deciding factor is. But like I said, man, that was 3 of the 4 teams. I'm not gonna be mentioned and put my mouth on the on the Cowboys until Ashley gets here, because that's a cardinal sin.
And I still say we don't need her, but it's okay.
But until she gets here, we're gonna start on these position rankings. This is a very interesting division, definitely at every position. Like I said, new additions, DeAndre Swift and some others have now joined into the fray. Eric Bieniemy is now here. Sam Howell is a newer quarterback. Danny Dimes is an older face. Been around for a minute. Jalen Hurts are maybe, I think, the 2 longest tenured quarterbacks in this division besides Dakota Prescott. So we're going to start with that signal caller position. Who is the best quarterback in this division? I'm going to come to you, Candy. Who do you have as the best signal caller in the division right now?
I mean, I'm not going to go against what Eric said. It is Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's Jalen. It's with beyond the doubt, no doubt in my mind. I mean, the organization as a whole, I started tracking. Well, I've always tracked the teams and, of course, the division. But it was so clear to me last year off season and the moves that the Eagles made in the draft. I remember I had so many Commanders fans upset with me because I said, listen, the Eagles are going to win the division and they are built to go to the Super Bowl. They're Super Bowl bound. Just look at what they just did. Of course, nobody wanted to believe it because it was, but it was strategic. It was right. It was spot on. And they're doing the same thing again this year, ensuring they had all the key pieces, making additions where necessary for Jalen to be successful. Eric, I have to go back to this point that you made about the Chiefs being the better team that day. And see, I'm going to say this. I don't mind saying it because I stay objective. I have a slightly different opinion on that because I guess, they were slightly better that day, but it was one mistake. It's almost showed that fumble, that one mistake, how much that mattered because the game was still a difference of a field goal, right? Nobody got blown out. They were right there toe to toe. You got 5 more minutes to play. Who knows what would have happened? I'm not a gambling woman, but I did think the Eagles were going to win. But it was Jalen Hurts. It's Jalen Hurts all the way right now.
Okay, for sure. Alex, do you agree with Jalen Hurts, or you gonna give Danny Dimes some love? Or
I have so much faith in Daniel Jones, but I'm also not insane. It's clearly Jalen Hurts. Not just in the division, like Eric said, in the conference. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers switching conferences, there's no one even remotely you could make a case for. That's close. I mean, there's other good quarterbacks, but he is the only one in, I think, the whole NFC that he is on his own the difference between wins and losses in certain games. I said I'm very confident in my guy. I'm happy with who I have, but I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't rather have Jalen Hurts if I had the option.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, do I need to say it again? He just got done talking about him. Eric, who you got, man?
Well, listen, I mean, clearly, here's what I'll say, and I will be objective when I say this. Look at the maturation of the quarterbacks within the division, okay? At one time, we were supposed to have a Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott kind of matchup that never really ever evolved into anything. You know what I mean? And meanwhile, Daniel Jones is out here on this little island where you have flashes of greatness within him, but they're few and far between. Dak Prescott, after that injury, he has tried to bring himself back, but he's just not there. And I apologize if the audio is mine. I'm sorry. But, Sam Howell, I will say, is my dark horse. He's a question mark because now, as Candy said, you're adding in Eric Bieniemy, a guy who has been known to turn offenses into the next level. So I'm curious to see what he does. As it stands right now, though, no. Jalen Hurts, that's it. Enough said.
Cool. I think it's Jalen Hurts right now. When my quarterback rankings going into the season come out, Be on the lookout for that, Alex. A lot of people might be a little upset, but I got Jalen Hurts ranked number 3, and the only 2 guys I have him ranked behind are Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. And so when you are the best quarterback in the division in an entire conference, arguably, I don't think you can argue with that. So there's always guys, that this is one of the positions that they say are devalued. I don't agree with that. I still got love for my guys that carry the ball. But this division has very good running backs. Whether you like it or not, they got some athletes that run these rocks for these teams. And y'all might not like who I got as the best running back, but some fans out there might like it. But I'm gonna come to the guy who I feel like, has a great argument for a guy that's on his team. Alex, who do you feel like is the best ball carrier at the running back position in this division?
I mean, you know what I'm going to say. Saquon Barkley. When I went through the rankings we're going to do here, it was the only position I was very confident in putting my team in the first spot when I laid out all 4 teams in every position. Having seen him in person myself, he's the second fastest player I've ever seen live behind Michael Vick. He just does everything you need him to do. The concern is he seems to be great in September and he's great in December. But in the middle, there were a lot of duds past year. Some of that was coaching. As great as Dable was, he kind of got a little too reliant on just give him the ball and feed him and feed him and feed him. And he's not always going to be that kind of running back. He's much better when he's out in space, when he has a little ability to move. I wish they had gotten him the ball in the passing game a little more last year. I'm hoping to see them do that a little more this year. But I think some of last year was still not fully trusting Jones to do more with the offense until the season got a little later on. But the thing that I think makes Saquon scarier now is that the Giants finally really unlocked the right way to run Daniel Jones. Not a lot of cuts. It's one move upfield. And when he can do that, he's very fast and he's very effective. And there were several games last year where they just ran read option over and over. And Jones was so effective that teams started letting Saquon go and crashing down on Daniel Jones. If the Giants can unlock that, I mean, there's kind of no limit to what Saquon can do.
Can I interject real quick, though?
Oh,
because here's what I want to say about that, Alex. You say you shocked the entire NFL. Y'all gave every other team in the NFL the blueprint on how to basically defend against your team, because we all knew it was either Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley, and teams still couldn't figure it out. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you got to give Saquon a little more love than that, because everybody knew what the game plan was going in to face the Giants, because that's all y'all had. And y'all still came away with the record that you did.
Yeah, and my frustrations really came where I said right in that middle of the season. And I think part of that was a bit of coaching, and it was a bit of Saquon too. You ask a lot of Giant fans, the frustration that they have with Saquon in his early years was always looking for the home run. So he would dance in the hole looking to get that space, and he would just lose 2 yards rather than just put your head down, get 3. So he kind of improved in that area. But I also think mid-season part of it was he was definitely banged up, and part of that was the insane workload that they were putting on him. They didn't make all the moves I would have liked to see them make to add weapons around that offense, but they did improve it. And I'm hoping to see the ball move around a little bit more to give him the opportunity to be that home run hitter.
Oh, for sure. I think there's still some trades and some things that can happen.
They made some moves. They just didn't. Obviously the big need was clear. We had one of the worst wide receiving groups in the league last year, and maximized
injuries robbed y'all for sure. Injuries, definitely.
And we didn't have a good group going in to start, and then injuries made it worse. They maximized it. They found some real, deep finds like Isaiah Hodgins, but there have been improvements. Some guys are back. Some draft picks, Darren Waller. So hopefully with that opening, now they can't do exactly what Eric is saying, which is Jones, Barkley. There's other things that can hurt you.
Yeah, and y'all got my guy Jalen Hyatt. So shout out to Jalen up there, man. Should be able to do big things up there. So Eric, I'm gonna come to you. Y'all definitely added some pieces in the backfield. Y'all had a very potent running attack last year. do you feel like maybe y'all have the best running back on y'all roster?
Here's the thing. I go from Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott to Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, and Boston Scott. And so for me, I got to see how the running back tandem is going to work. I knew what I had with my friend Miles, Boston, and Kenneth. Shout out to the Penn State Nittany Lion. I hope he does well in Carolina, but that's another story for another time. So I'm going to give you a name that is going to shock some people, and I know I'm going to catch hell for this. But I really think that Brian Robinson Jr. from Washington, I think he is going to be arguably the best running back in our division. And I only say that because we all know this young man's story, okay? And when you go through what he went through and yet you still come on that field and you produce at such a level that is just it takes a certain mentality to be able to play at that level and go through what you went through and still be able to maintain that professionalism, but also execution. I think we're going to see a lot from him because think about it like this. Look at Bieniemy's running backs that he has had and look at the success that they have had. Now, granted, when you had Patrick Mahomes and you had the Cheetah and you had Travis Kelce, you didn't really spend much time focusing on the running backs. However, look at what Pacheco did last year coming in, okay? That's why I say I think Brian Robinson Jr. might emerge as the best running back in our division. I'm sorry, Tony Pollard is going to get ran through the mud this year. And I always got love for Saquon. But the fact is, when like I said before, what he's able to do and teams are now able to game plan around it, I don't want New York to get more weapons. But if they do, like Alex said, it's going to open up for Saquon to hit one out the park. But right now, if you ask me, only because I haven't seen what DeAndre and Rashad have done, I got to give it to Brian Robinson Jr.
Oh man, I got love for DeAndre Swift, man. Like that dude is.
And I got love for him too, but you're coming into a new system.
For sure. I think if I read this right, and I could be wrong, if I read this right, I think Rashad Penny is listed as the starter right now. So
no, right now the starter, and let me just confirm that with you because I was looking at all of our depth charts, of course. No, Swift is our starter.
Swift is the starter.
And then it is Rashad Penny.
Okay,
he's our second.
Cool. Because I know going into camps, I think it was Rashad Penny, but regardless, y'all got a 3-headed monster up there. All them boys can run the ball. But so Candy, this is good. We got Saquon, we got one Brian Robinson, which I'm surprised. I ain't gonna lie, you disappointed me, Eric.
I'm gonna be real with you. I can't be the full fan right now. I'm waiting on the other person to get here to be the full fan, and she late.
I definitely got you.
I went with Saquon. Obviously, the only person that gave me pause was Brian Robinson.
For sure, but Candy, so Brian Robinson is on your team.
Yep.
Do you agree with that? Do you think Brian Robinson is the best running back in the division, or maybe is it Saquon?
I mean, listen, as with the Commanders, if it's one running back, they just cannot contain. It's been Saquon Barkley. They just what in the world? And truth be told, I'll give an honorable mention to Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones always is. I'm like, is he the quarterback today or is he the running back today? He gets a lot of yards on the Commanders defense. Brian Robinson Jr. for certain, but I'm going to tell you who I have my eye on. I have my eye on Antonio Gibson from the Commanders. Here's why. When he's a hybrid player, right? Running back, wide receiver turn running back, however you want to say it. But when he's used out in space, he's incredible. So he's still used as that running back role. But once the Commanders understood, do what works for this young man, I think he was just starting to ramp up and then the season ended. So that is actually who I have my eye on for certain when it comes to pound for pound, running the football down the field, Saquon, Brian Robinson Jr., absolutely. But keep your eyes on Antonio Gibson for sure. I think he's going to have a breakout season.
For sure. And Brian Robinson was my pick. I was hoping that we would get a little bit more, biasness. But the reason I say that is because, like I said, seeing what the guy went through, like Eric said, we all know the dilemma that he went through, and thank God he survived that because it could have definitely been another 21 situation, right? And so thank God that God thought highly enough of him to keep him here. But then to come out on the field, right, and do what he did, 787 yards last season on the ground. And that was just with 12 games played and 8 starts. He didn't start all 12 of those games, just had 8 starts. They were kind of, I think Washington was still trying to figure it out, trying to, see what they had or whatever, because the season wasn't as the best, right? It wasn't the best. So they were just trying to figure out what they got. I think if that guy had 17 games to play, you're looking at a top 10, arguably a top 5 rusher. So I got Brian Robinson as my best running back in the game. And that's not a knock on Saquon. I like Saquon. I love what he does. I like Tony Pollard. I like Deuce Vaughn, who the Cowboys added. I love DeAndre Swift. But I think when you talk about pure runners, right, a guy who you put it in his gut, you put it in the bread basket, and you ask him to go get you, grind out 5, 10, 15 yards, wear a defense down, Brian Robinson is that guy. Well, again, we'll see what New York does with Jalen Hyatt and those guys coming back from injury and all the weapons that they add. And also they added Darren Waller, who Candy, for some reason, won't admit is her cousin. But
everybody's like, "Are you keeping it a secret?" I'm like, "No," but I don't know. But
you ain't gotta tell us, But this is where the fun begins, I think. For every quarterback, there's great wide receivers, and every quarterback has a receiving group. I got my reservations about who I think is the best receiving group in this division. But, Candy, who do you have as the best group of pass catchers in the NFC East?
Okay, so this is where it's going to start sounding like a fan is slipping out. Listen, when you sit out and you at OTAs in that hot sun, when it starts getting hot, you're like, ooh, this can get good, because it's been a long time since the Commanders have experienced a quarterback who can get the ball down the field. I really think the wide receivers for the Commanders everyone needs to watch out. Again, as a root and result of Eric Bieniemy, Terry McLaurin does not get the credit he deserves. Terry McLaurin is he's a goon out there, absolutely a leader on the field. But another player that I'm putting my money there is on Jahan Dotson. When we talk about rookies who did well last year, y'all mentioned Brian Robinson Jr., Jahan Dotson, the first rounder for the Commanders last year. You mentioned Penn State, Nittany Lions. Jahan is absolutely that secret weapon. I can see it. I can sense it. That get the track stars out there. So between Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, still haven't really seen and utilized effectively Curtis Samuel. Still a lot of juice there. So I think between those three, I'm going with the Commanders wide receivers for this year as that dark horse, but absolutely think that's the best wide receiving core in the NFC East.
And you also failed to mention another North Carolina guy who has
Dyami Brown.
And Sam,
the 4x1 team.
Man, Sam is very familiar with that guy. Number 2 caught a lot of passes from number 7 at UNC. So it's gonna be fun to see that team. Alex, I'm gonna come to you. Y'all did add Darren Waller. You added Jalen Hyatt in the draft. And then I think you're going to get some guys back. Like you said, you also found some diamonds in the rough. In a more of a trial by fire situation last year. Who do you feel like the New York has an argument in this question, or in this situation, or do you feel like it's got to go to another team?
I'm not going to go with the Giants on it, but I will say, yeah, we're going to get Sterling Shepard back. I don't know what condition he's going to be, and we're going to get Wan'Dale Robinson back. They're going to be more of a by committee kind of receiving thing. The player to watch out for is going to be Hodgins. He's very effective in the red zone. My guess is if it's not Waller, he'll lead the Giants in receiving touchdowns because he's very good at reading Daniel Jones, especially on a scramble and finding open space. I think the thing that's gone a little under the radar with the Giants with Waller, it's not Waller on his own. Daniel Bellinger was a huge bright spot for them last year, was their starter as a rookie, and other than the time he missed with the eye injury, was really effective. And I'm expecting Dable to do a lot of 2 tight end sets utilizing both of them, which could throw some wrenches in the works for other teams. But for the best group overall in the division, again, unfortunately, I hate to do it. I got to give it to Philly. I've been a huge A.J. Brown fan since he was with your team, Court. And I was very angry when he wound up on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Thank you, Corlin.
Tennessee just had to catch
Thank
it
you,
straight.
Corlin.
We just had to catch it straight, right?
I just think they give you between, with their top 2 receivers, they just give you kind of a nightmare to solve because you've got the big body, you've got the speed. And between both of them, you have 2 guys that you need to put a number 1 corner on, and you only have one number 1 corner. And I think that's where the problem is, especially when you're trying to deal with the best quarterback in the division as well. I think that, and I will agree with Candy that Terry McLaurin is extreme, still does not get the praise he deserves. He is excellent. And I do think Washington's group is solid, but with a rookie quarterback, I think that's going to handicap them a little bit, at least this year.
Oh, for sure, man. And dang, I hate that Tennessee had to catch that straight, but there is a team that has 2 number 1 corners, and they won't be talked about until the end of this series. But the Seahawks definitely got 2 number 1s, but we're gonna save them until we talk about them in 4 more weeks. Eric, you got some love. We got 1 Philly, we got 1 for Washington. You can break this up. You can get a tiebreaker to Washington.
No, we're not breaking. Let me just stop you right there. First, let me say this. Candy, I got all love in the world for Scary Terry, okay? Mm-hmm. The obstacle is when we're talking about the best wide receiving combination in our division, look at it, that's how I look at it. Scary Terry's that guy. You got to cover him. And your other wide receivers out there, whether they be in the slot or the left or the right, they ain't household names yet. Right. Okay. When I look at the Giants, listen, like you said it yourself, Alex, it's by committee. I don't know. I don't pick wide receivers in fantasy football because I don't know which one gonna show up week in and week out. Yeah. I'll tell y'all how I knew that we had the best wide receiver tandem in the NFC East. Want to know how I knew this? So what is Devontae Smith's number? Anybody know?
Number 6.
6. Okay. And then if you take A.J. Brown's number, that's what? 11, right? So 6'11". June 11th is my mama's birthday. That's how I knew we had the best wide receiving core. Because I was like, when y'all put them 2 numbers up there and y'all can't figure out which one y'all gonna cover, I was like, okay, I got it.
Shout out to Mama Wilson.
Shout out to Mama Wilson. That's right. Because I know, but in all seriousness, the guy that people don't talk about, and I've talked about him because I got love for him, is Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins in that slot is a guy that, much like other players, don't get that recognition. But when one of our guys is not available, Quez is definitely that man to step up. So for me, there is no, let's just keep it 100. CeeDee Lamb is all Dallas has. I don't care if they brought in Brandon Cooks or anybody else. It's CeeDee Lamb. You don't wear number 88 and not be that main guy. The problem is you got a quarterback who's probably much on his last whatever with Dallas. Like I said before, you're going to run Tony Pollard into the ground, much like you did other running backs. So who you got? And I know we're going to get to tight ends, but I'm not even getting started on them. By far, Philly has the best wide receiving tandem right now.
For sure. And so what's crazy is I agree with Candy. As much as it's going to probably hurt, people to hear this. When I look at it, right?
He just AJ's with me. That's all. He just.
Oh no! I love that. I love the fact.
I was glad you all got AJ too. I was hot. I was like, oh.
I'm glad AJ's up there.
Listen, I'm still mad, Candy. Y'all got Chase Young because when Chase Young is healthy, I'm like, boy, I don't want to be nowhere near that brother.
When AJ opened up, he was a blessing in disguise. Him going up to Philly. I'm glad he got what he wanted. Right, he got the money. He got a chance to play for the Super Bowl, and that's great for him. Now, we might get DeAndre Hopkins, take that spot. So it is what it is. AJ, I wish all the best to you. Got to talk to you at the Super Bowl, man. If you're watching this show, bro. I love you to death. But it is what it is. You ain't in the Tennessee Titans no more. So, you know what I mean?
No, he in a better color. That's okay.
That's fine.
He in that money color. That's what he in that money color, not that
It's-
sky blue. The
it's
sky
more
is
of a-
not the limit for AJ Brown.
It's more of that
about
murky,
getting that bag.
It's more of a murky swamp green, but we're not gonna talk about that, Eric. But no, seriously. With the Commanders, man. So she mentioned the 3 guys that they have, and somebody on Twitter kind of mentioned this, and I thought they were crazy when they said they were like Terry McLaurin could very well be an Andre Johnson type of situation, where he's this great receiver that doesn't get any recognition because of the franchise he plays for. Now, the thing is they get to turn this around. Sam Howell is there. Like you said, Airbnb is there. So now Terry was doing this, being on a team that was seeing like they would go up and then they would kind of taper off and fall back down. Now this team is on the up and up. Diami is very good, a very fast receiver. He carved up Tennessee, carved up our secondary and our defense, you know, when we played them. And the only reason we won that game was because of a lucky interception from Carson Wentz. Jahan Dotson, when the guy plays and he's healthy, he's one of the most dynamic receivers in the game at this young age that he's playing at. And then, like she said, Curtis Samuel, we've yet to see Curtis Samuel play healthy. When Curtis Samuel's on the field, he's a guy who can do it from the slot, he can do it from outside, he can do it out the backfield. And if they can get them 4 guys to play on the field at the same time, it's going to get really scary really quick, because you now have to hope that you have 4 corners or a safety that can drop down and cover each one of these guys, and they all have very good skill sets. So it's not to take anything away from Philly. It's not to take anything away from Dallas. I just think from a talent perspective, Washington is just a little bit more talented. Now, if we go tit for tat, AJ Brown is a top 5 receiver in the league, right? Terry is right there in that conversation. But AJ is kind of, I think he jolted himself up into that upper echelon number 1 talk if he wasn't already there. Devontae is one of the best number 2s, you argue number 1 Bs in the league, up there with T. Higgins of the world, right? But when I look at that Washington team, I'm like, yeah, Terry, but then you got 3-4 other guys that can give you 100, 122 touchdowns at any given point. And they don't have to do it every single week. It could just be one guy that does it, you know what I mean, outside of Terry. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this division. But now we get to go to the fun side in this division, because y'all are, and I think Candy had to dip, but it's all right. We're gonna carry it on without her. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk Washington. I'm gonna hold it down as best as I can, Candy. Hopefully you can stay tuned into the show. But we can talk about defense, guys. Y'all ready? So I'm gonna come to Alex first. Who do you feel like has the best overall defense in the NFC East?
I don't know why I agreed to do this. I mean, look, there was a reason Philly was in the Super Bowl last year. That pass rush is scary. I will say, I think the whole division, I don't think any team on any other division wants to deal with the pass rush all 4 teams present. Every one of them has somebody who can break your game plan. The Eagles have a few. That's who I would put overall. But I watched games last year where Dexter Lawrence just obliterated your game plan. Not with the sack numbers, but just he's on your quarterback. He's clogging up the middle of the line over and over again. And every time we play the Cowboys, I am terrified of Micah Parsons because he can do that to you too in a very different way. So I will give it to Philly, but I will say I think it's a pretty strong across the board group for the whole division.
Okay. Well, it looks like Ashley may not be able to make it because she's had
good.
Man, I heard
no Dallas fan in here.
That hurts my heart.
Respectable conversation.
That hurts my heart because that means I'm gonna have to get her on to do a all Cowboys show. It's gonna be crazy.
Sorry,
but I'm gonna go back to the we were talking about. We're gonna get back to these position rankings. But the question I wanted to ask her was when it rains, it pours. So I'm just gonna ask. We're just gonna have a kind of a roundtable here about it. Do y'all think Dak returns to an all-pro form this season, seeing as, he's coming back, he's a year removed from the injury. The offensive line seems to be a little bit more solidified. He's going to have more dynamic running backs with Deuce Vaughn and Tony Pollard behind him. And then, of course, like y'all said, you're going to have Brandon Cooks, Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb out there running routes. Do y'all think he returns to what we saw at the beginning of his career and through the first 3 years, 3 or 4 years of his career? Do y'all think he returns to that form?
No.
No.
Dang. Okay. Pretty dry.
Carlin, here's the one thing I can tell you when it comes to asking me questions about that team. Okay. I am very rarely ever going to give you a positive answer. All right. What I am saying to you is, can he become that guy? Yes. That opportunity is there. But this is a team that for 25 plus years is always in the rear view. And even when they are successful, they don't get it done. So I can't. In good conscience, Cortland, I cannot sit up here on the halftime show having an NFC East discussion and tell you definitively that Rayne Dakota Prescott is going to reinvent, and be that guy before the injury. It's not impossible. But from my eyes, it's improbable. It don't matter who he's got.
Okay.
I just don't see it.
Alex, how do you feel about it?
So, I agree with Eric. I don't like having to say good things about the Dallas Cowboys. But I will say, relatively, Dak Prescott is one of the Cowboys over the years that I don't hate, other than the fact that he's a Cowboy.
Right. Exactly.
Right. But I'll also say, even before the injury, when my team was bad, I never feared Dak Prescott as a quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he doesn't scare me, not the way Aaron Rodgers would, not the way Jalen Hurts does. So, what are we talking about as a level that he's going to get back to? A slightly better than average quarterback with, other than CeeDee Lamb, mediocre weapons? Even if he is as good as he can possibly be, I don't see that really moving the needle anyway.
Gotcha.
There's a reason he went in the 4th round. Let's not forget that. Okay.
I'm gonna get some pushback here. I think, and this may be because of being a fan of Deuce Vaughn. I like what he brings. I was more of a fan of Tony Pollard than I was of Zeke. I felt like with Zeke, and people have heard me say this before, Cowboys fans, y'all can try to pack me up, but the numbers speak for itself. You can go literally NFL reference, where Alex tells me to go often, right? State numbers, and you can see a tangible decline. It's in the numbers. Like it goes here, and then it gradually falls for Zeke. I think Tony Pollard is better now than Zeke is right now. I think Deuce Vaughn is going to be a very good running back in this league. I think CeeDee Lamb is very good. I don't think he's top 10. I think he's top 15. Brandon Cooks he brings a different dynamic that they haven't had with the speed he possesses. I think that can get it done. If that means going up against the Eagles and beating them twice, that's not happening. Does that mean winning the NFC East? I don't think that's happening. Does that mean winning a playoff game and possibly making a run in the playoffs? I think they can do it. And it oh man.
So I will put them.
That was a nasty taste in my throat.
I will put them in this context, okay? To what you just said, if that team is to be successful, they will be successful in spite of their quarterback, not because of their quarterback. That's what I'll say. Because like we said, defenses, listen, for all the talk that Dexter Lawrence and Micah Parsons and, back in the day, Sean Lee and LVE and all these guys would talk, there is something to be said. And again, to Alex's point, none of the other 28 teams in the entire NFL want to face the NFC East defenses. We beat up on each other. Can you imagine what we then do to other teams? Like it ain't like, oh, see, we're a collective of brothers. That's what we are. And we continually gonna fight with each other. But see, can't nobody else come into our playground and fight with us, because then we both gonna knock them out. That's how that works with this division. Now, granted, that team down in Texas, that's not the Texans, they the stepchild. We have to put up with them. It's like Mama said, they have to come and play with us. That's what it is.
And I want to add to that they earned that because they never stopped talking.
Right. Exactly.
It's kind of like the Colts in the AFC South. Like you hate them, but it's like we gotta have y'all. We gotta have y'all over. Gosh.
Right.
Like,
but that's what it is. But like I said, if that team is going to be successful, it'll be in spite of Dak, not because of Dak. But I like the brother. Look, get your money, do your thing. I get it. But he's not on that level that people feel or want him to be.
And some of that is the oversaturation in the media of the Cowboys, period. I'll say this, for the last 20 years, Washington has years here and there where they're good, but overall it's been Philly and Dallas and the Giants at the higher end of the division.
Right.
Now, if Philly's having a great year and we're having a bad year and we go play them, I'm worried that we're going to get our doors blown off. If Dallas is having a great year and we're not, I'm pretty confident we can beat them in their building or ours, because they have a long history, whether it's Dak Prescott or Tony Romo, who I have a lot of respect for, but still fumble in the bag at the last minute. It's just something they do. I don't know what it is, but they just keep doing it.
It's in the water,
and they can keep doing it as far as I'm concerned.
It's at Texas water.
Yeah,
it's Texas water.
They can keep doing it all day.
We can talk about Cowboys all day and bag on them as much as we want to, but we got to get back to these position rankings, man. It's Ashley, man, come on! Like, I'm gonna have to have you on the show and talk. It's a whole show of Cowboys now, but hopefully you can watch from wherever you are. Shout out to her though. That's another woman in sports that should be celebrated outside of her Cowboys fandom. Shout out to that woman. She's one of the hosts of Sports After Dark on Twitter. Check them out. It's always a time in there, to say the least. I met a lot of good sports heads in there. A lot of the people that I met there are going to be representatives on this show. She's also has her own podcast. She's doing a lot. Ashley's doing a lot, and she's one of the women in sports that definitely need to be celebrated because she does great work. So definitely go check her out. But we're gonna get back to these defenses. Alex, you did say the New York Giants had the best defense in the division, right?
No, I didn't, but I don't think the margins on the defensive side of the ball are that wide across the whole division. I really don't. I think there's really strong fronts on all four teams. Some good defensive backs. I think the linebacker level is where it weakens through the whole division a little bit. But overall, I think it's four very strong defenses.
So, Eric, do you think that the Philadelphia Eagles, have the best defense in the division?
Let me answer that with two names that I just want you to remember. And this is all I'm going to say about it. Two names, Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. That's all I need to say. As long as they are a part of my defense, bruh, we the best defense in the division. Case closed, end of story.
So Eric, now, this is just three of us. We can kind of have a little bit more fun, a little bit of flexibility here. I was at the draft, and y'all took Jalen Carter, which was a surprise. Did not see it coming. I just knew for sure he was going to go to the Seahawks. But y'all got him. Then y'all turned right back around, drafted Nolan Smith. Then y'all turned right back around after that, drafted their teammate Keely Ringo after adding the Georgia Bull, like two of the top starters from the Georgia Bulldogs national championship defense the year prior. But the one thing that I asked Jalen Carter was, you have the opportunity now, joining up with your former teammate Jordan Davis, to have the best interior defensive line tandem that they've ever had since Jerome Brown and Reggie White. Do you think that is too high of praise for such young players?
Yes, because they haven't earned it yet. See, I'm still old school, okay? When you mention the names that you just mentioned, you put respect with a K on their name, okay? Because that's who they are. Do these young men have the opportunity to ascend to that level? Of course they do, because we know athletes today are bigger, stronger, faster. All right. And you know what? I'll deal with Mr. John Shear about that little comment right there on Monday night. I ain't worried about John. Getting back to the conversation at hand, you have to understand dogs run together. Okay. The year that we won the Super Bowl, we were the underdogs. As Jason Kelsey said in his Super Bowl speech, hungry dogs run faster. And it's about the whole damn team. Defensively, we know where Fletcher is at, one of the greats. We know where Brandon is at. So what has Howie done? What has Gannon done? They now have built and are preparing the next to take over. So what do? You go get yourself a band of brothers and say, okay, we saw y'all do it in college. Now let's translate it to the pros. Familiarity breeds consistency. So now we got these boys in here, and they're learning from greats. They're learning from future, in my opinion, Hall of Famers. Okay? So what I'm excited to see is how our defense doesn't skip a beat once Fletcher, Brandon, and the rest of them boys say, okay, our time has come, and we going to pass the torch.
So y'all ready to hate me, or y'all? I mean, it's my show, so it don't matter. But I just love saying it. It's amazing having ownership. But I'm gonna give the Cowboys some love here.
For what?
I think they have potentially the better defense, and the only thing that edges it out for me is the fact that they strengthened the area that was weakest on this team. The pass rush,
their defense isn't Micah Parsons and then 10 more Micah Parsons, right?
No, I get that. No, I definitely understand that. But I think adding Gilly, right, Stephon Gilmore to this defense, I think it puts I think it puts them slightly over the top. They want a bad defense. And then here's the thing, right? Mozzie Smith playing next to DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be huge. Mozzie Smith, if people don't know, right? If you think that he was a first-round draft pick by coincidence or by happenstance, he wasn't. This kid has the same measurables. He tested off the charts at the combine. He got comparisons to Aaron Donald for a reason. Is he going to be Aaron Donald? No. Aaron Donald is arguably the greatest defensive player we've ever seen. Definitely the greatest defensive player of this generation.
Of this generation, yes. Greatest defensive player ever? Nope.
Oh, yeah, arguably. That's why I say arguably. I always put arguably.
Ain't no argument about it. The greatest defensive player ever to play the game is Lawrence Taylor. End of story.
I don't know. I got prime time up there, but that's just me. That's a different episode, Eric. That's a different episode.
I'm coming back for that. Make sure you call me for that one. Don't worry, Alex. I got you on that.
I will.
I need the Happy Gilmore clip right now of Lawrence Taylor saying, "Don't smoke crack."
I'll do you one better.
Dang.
Portland Griffin, you need to be drug tested.
I do a piss test every day at work. No, it's
okay.
But no, seriously, I think the Cowboys have the potential to be the better defense. I had the gap between them and Philadelphia.
And Stephon Gilmore was your deciding factor?
Stephon Gilmore, I think adding Stephon Gilmore with Trayvon, like I said, having Jaron Kearse, Donovan Wilson were two very good safeties last year. Jabril Cox is very good. Leighton Vander Esch is still a very good linebacker. We've yet to see what Damone Clark can do.
But that same thing you just did, I could do that for Philly. I could do that for the Giants. I could do that for Washington. Just going through all the pieces.
Oh, yeah. True, definitely. And I have an argument for the Commanders as well. I think the Commanders are up there. I think across the board, when I look at it, the weakest defense in this division may be the Giants. And that's just because y'all have such young guys in the secondary. And that's the only thing but I think y'all have great potential as well.
Did you see what he did to Aaron Rodgers over in London?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you remember that game?
No, I definitely saw that.
Okay.
I'm not taking anything from them.
Again, I'm telling you.
Each one of these defenses had flashes last year.
Listen, the Giants defense got better as the weeks progressed.
Oh yeah.
And
So
we're now going to
I'm
be in
sorry.
year 2 of Kayvon Thibodeau, and he had
Thank you.
flashes of wrecking games.
Thank you.
Oh, now when we talk about Kayvon.
I interviewed him.
Also, last year we barely had Azeez Ojulari healthy. When he's healthy, and we have
he's a
Kayvon,
game record.
Ojulari, Dexter Lawrence, and Leonard Williams, that's frightening to deal with.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like the Cowboys have that same kind of. They have that same potential with having Micah Parsons, who's a game breaker, generational talent.
But okay,
Mozzie.
stop. You said Micah Parsons. You only said one man. Alex gave you
I wasn't
3.
done, Eric.
And I haven't even got to the fact that I got Big Play Slay. I got a guy who a lot of people are going to see a lot more of in Reed Blankenship because C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we don't have him anymore. But, I'm sorry, James Bradbury, one of the most humblest men I've ever met, is going to really show up. Oh, and did I mention Hassan Reddick? I might have forgotten him.
And then y'all added Keeley, who's I still think yet to sign, but he's going to be there. So,
and the Kobe Dean, who we didn't even see.
And
Come on, man, cut it out.
Xavier McKinney isn't going to break his hand riding an ATV on his bye week this time.
Yeah, hopefully not. That's crazy.
This is Dallas has the 4th in that division. In our division, Dallas has the 4th best offense. Defense.
I can see why you would say that. Darrell Owens, man, what's up, man? That guy's also going to be on the NFL Roundtable representing the Packers. I'm sorry, I almost said the Cowboys. The Packers. So, man, shout out to him. Man, he just did. I think Legacy on Fire today. Great, so go check him out over there as well, man. Can I just take a break real quick to say I'm so happy that I'm connected to such great people, man. Darrell Owens, Eric Wilson, Alex, everybody that's been on this show, man, are great people, and they're the reason why Cortland Griffin can do the things that he does. Because if y'all didn't know, Eric Wilson, whenever the halftime show with Cortland Griffin gets picked up by somebody's network, that man gonna get a check because if it wasn't for him, Danny Thompson, and Ray J. Lynn pounded for 3 days, and I was way too talented and way too young and giving me all the gems and the tricks of the trade. If it wasn't for them, this doesn't happen. So all them brothers probably gonna get a check.
I want to take a minute to point something out about the NFC East is that you took a few sentences to decide to try to take the side of the Dallas Cowboys, and you got me and Eric to join forces without hesitation.
Exactly.
That's all you
That's crazy,
the
right? And I ain't even a Cowboys fan. That's the last time I do that.
The one
best show the halftime has seen. Why? Because ain't no Cowboys fan on here today. That's what I'm saying.
That's crazy,
I feel bad for you when you got to have Ashley on here by yourself. I'm gonna watch too.
Ashley was on the second ever episode of the halftime show. She held it down. So shout out to her. But so we gotta break these defenses down, man. So that was complete defenses. Now we gotta break it down to the microcosms and the different groups, right? So we're gonna start with the DB groups. Who has the best group of DBs in the NFC East?
Philly. Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat.
DBs? Defensive backs. They don't play defensive back.
I don't care. I'm just putting them in there. Those are my dogs. Those are my boys. I don't care.
Eric rattled off the defensive line and said, they cover passes too.
Yeah.
If they do their job, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. But no, so do y'all think so? I'll give the nod to Philly. But Alex, do you think they got that Philly is like overall the best defensive back group?
Overall, yeah, I do, but I think the Giants are not far behind, and I think a lot of it's going to hinge on our rookie, on Deonte Banks. One thing our DBs were pretty good last year. The problem is we don't turn the ball over, at least not with interceptions. Not that much. We can get some strip sacks. That's where we get our turnovers, and we don't get that many. Adoree Jackson, good corner, not an interception guy. Just not what he does. But Deonte Banks, we're hoping can be that guy. A healthy season from McKinney. The question is going to be the second safety position is where we're going to maybe have some problems. But I'm very confident with 2 of our 3 guys, and I'm very hopeful for the third. But with them, a lot is going to come down to that, like I said before, that pass rush making opportunities for that backfield. But if in a vacuum, without a pass rush or straight up coverage, I would give it to Philly.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with James Bradbury.
Yeah, and I'm still mad that he's there and not with us anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how he just
thank you.
left.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure Carolina.
Listen, CJ had 6 interceptions, and then we sent him to Detroit, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, really?
Y'all felt like y'all could replace that? I think y'all felt like y'all could replace
Reed is gonna. I think Reed, because we started to see Reed in certain games. I think Blankenship's gonna impress some people, but I don't know, man. Listen, I got Hassan, I got James, I got Terrell Edmonds, who a lot of people don't really talk about either, and I got Reed. So big play Slay is he's just that.
So can I play devil's advocate here for a second?
If you say Dallas, I'll clap for the Lord.
No.
Okay,
Washington is a team that I was tug of warring with when I was looking up these rosters, because I was like, man, Emmanuel Forbes, though he's a rookie, one of the best man-to-man coverage guys I've seen. I've had the chance of watching tape on. He's one of the best. Benjamin St. Juste, I think, is one of the better young corners in the game. Kendall Fuller should be able to bounce back this year. Cameron Curl, one of the better safeties in the NFL. And then you add Derek Forrest, right? Little known guy, but he's a very good safety as well. I think when you look at this that's a young roster that have a lot of potential. And if that defensive front plays to the potential that they can play up to, that could arguably be the best defensive back group in this division. That's not saying total defense.
Right.
That's just saying the best DB pure coverage guys. Because Benjamin St. Juste, a lot of people don't realize how good that dude was out the gate. And sucks that we stole their DB coach. We thank y'all for that. Because
you didn't steal nobody. He got paid the money he wanted. He went where he
Oh no, he was gonna stay there. From what I understand, he was gonna stay there. But we gave him the money. But I thank him for coming down here, because I see a difference in that Titans defensive backfield. But man, like I said, when I look at these guys, Cameron Curl, a hard hitter, can cover. Emmanuel Forbes, pure man cover guy. Benjamin St. Juste, pure man cover guy. Kendall Fuller, question mark, but when healthy, pure man cover guy. They can get it done. So I just want to play a little devil's advocate, give the Commanders some love. Hopefully they wear the black uniforms all year long, because them other ones are putrid. But we gotta go to these linebackers, man. So this is where to me it gets interesting, because just linebackers, that team y'all hate got an argument. But Alex, who do you think?
Unfortunately, that team I hate. I'm very confident with the Giants defense, but linebacker last year was brutal for us. Despite having such a good front four, we were not great against the run. We just did the bend don't break thing a lot. I think the Giants will be better because of Okereke, which is the underrated. Everyone's talking about Darren Waller with the Giants, which I'm happy to have, but that was the most important pickup they made all offseason. But like you mentioned already, we've talked about Micah Parsons plenty. Van Der Esch. I just think that's the one area I will give Dallas the nod.
Eric ain't going for it. I already know he's going for it. Eric, who you got, man?
I will plead the fifth and agree with Alex, and we need to move on, because that's all I'm gonna say.
Now, I will say this. I'll give Philly some love here, right?
No, we got love. Hold on. I will always show love to my team. But this is the one time that I'm going to respect that team in our division that I can't stand, and simply say the linebacker, that group, okay? When you look at the 4 teams within our division, I have nothing but love for Philly. And I understand that the Giants are making their way, but they have such a high bar by having the greatest linebacker to ever play the game that there is an expectation that is unfathomable. And Washington, as young and hungry as they are, again, you're elevating yourself to the status of guys who have always been battle tested. So, but if I'm gonna be completely unbiased, be completely honest, I cannot ignore, no matter, even though he tried to get us and couldn't get it done. And I hate saying that about a fellow Penn State brother. Leighton Vander Esch and Micah Parsons are the two guys that you have to respect what they do at their position. Okay? I don't care what team they're on. So that's why I have to say that the best linebacking group is those two.
I'll give you that one. I'm just gonna say Nakobe Dean, to me, I love that dude. I walked past him at the Super Bowl and I was like, he plays linebacker. And then you see him on the field and it's like, yeah, he plays linebacker. Like, the dude is nice. Nolan Smith, freak of nature. My God, 4'3", right, and what he can do. You're gonna plug him in there. Nicholas Morrow played very well last year. Hassan Reddick, we don't even got to talk about it. So it's one of the, man. This is one of the divisions, man. It's just hard not to. It's hard not to give them. It's so much talent in every crevice, and then y'all got guys that are backlogged on these rosters. It's gonna be scary, but we're gonna get into the fun part. Of this of this. This is where the meat and potatoes really, and this is where the toxicity really ramps up. The top two storylines that are coming out of these camps. I'm gonna start with you, Eric. What are the two top storylines for the Eagles coming into the 2023-24 season?
Can they do what they did last year with the additions and subtractions? And how good is Jalen Hurts going to be? Was he a one-hit wonder? Or will he continue to elevate himself to that next level? Because now all the, I won't say pressure is on him because he has continually elevated himself. But now the bar has been risen, the expectation. I said it to start the show off here today on the halftime show. Name a better quarterback in the NFC than Jalen Hurts. Don't worry, I'll wait. So now, my friend, you not only have the number one on your jersey, you are the number one in the NFC. There is a level of expectancy with regard to this team. And then, like I said, the other question is, can they get back? With the NFC being as wide open as Alex has said, we don't know what teams are going to be like because pieces are still being in play. But there is that, will Philly get back? Are they the odds-on favorite to return not only as NFC East division winners, but as NFC champion winners and go back to Vegas to face whether it be a Kansas City in a rematch, whether it be a Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, whether it finally be Josh Allen in Buffalo, or I'll throw a wild card, I'll throw two wild cards out there to you, whether it be Lamar Jackson, he finally gets himself past that goal line, or does Aaron Rodgers and the new look Jets make their way back? You know what I'm saying? I'm not sleeping on Justin Herbert and the Chargers, nor am I sleeping on Trevor Lawrence, who has my Super Bowl winning coach and Doug Peterson down here in Jacksonville. You know, but when you look at the NFC versus the AFC, we could go down the list of quarterbacks and say, well, it might be this guy, might be this guy, might be this guy, might be this guy. In the NFC, we're saying it's Jalen Hurts and then the rest of the field.
Yep. I agree with you there. And we're going to run Doug Peterson out of Jacksonville, too. Alex, what are the two storylines coming out of the Big Apple for the Giants?
Well, one, it's not one of the ones I wanted to go over, but I can't not mention it, is obviously the continuing Saquon contract dispute. But I'll be honest, I'm just not terribly concerned with it. Might he miss game one? Maybe. I don't think he will. But bottom line is, if he wants his money, it's a contract year. And we've seen Le'Veon Bell hold out on this, and in the end, it didn't turn out so great for him. So I don't think, whether it's auditioning to get more money from the Giants or from somebody else, he's going to play. But I couldn't not mention that because then I'd look like I have no idea what I'm talking about. The two things, one I kind of touched on it before, was just, they caught a lot of people by surprise last year, especially early. I mean, I think it was it week 1 or week 2 we played Tennessee?
Week 1.
Yeah. And I mean, I was as shocked as you were when that happened.
We just had to go for it. Y'all just had to go for 2.
But they were.
That's what Daboll does, though. Come on now.
They were one of those
Brian Daboll does.
Last year where the stats aren't going to jump off the page at you, but they're the kind of team that nobody wants to play because they're going to keep it close. They're going to ugly up the game, and more games than not, they made the big play when they had to. Didn't have a lot of interceptions, but the ones they had were huge. Things like that. That's a hard thing to recreate. So the big storyline to me is, can Daboll do it again? He was terrific last year. I mean, really, no complaints. And I think one of the things that told me before last season even started that this was the right guy for the job, you see a lot of guys come in and get a head coaching job, especially if they're coming out of being a coordinator, especially on offense, and they want to put in their system. I mean, you should. That's why you were hired. He got in there and he knew the Giants had a major talent deficit at the skill positions. So he didn't put in his system. He put in a system that would work for what he had. So I'm excited to see what he can do now that he has some more weapons with a Darren Waller, getting the other guys back. And some of these guys being in the building longer. Isaiah Hodgins was huge for us last year. He wasn't even playing until like week 6. So more time to figure that all out. The other big storyline, I think, is Evan Neal. A big part of why Daniel Jones had such a better year last year, a lot of it was Daboll, and a lot of it was Jones finally cutting back the turnovers. But a lot of it was also Andrew Thomas took a major leap last year. And you gave Daniel Jones a little bit more time because his first couple of seasons, he was running for his life all the time. Now, Evan Neal last year on the other end of the line had a similar kind of struggle to the way Andrew Thomas did his rookie year. I don't expect him to take the leap that Andrew Thomas did, where he's one of the better left tackles in the league now. But if he can take some kind of leap, and now we have bookend tackles to make Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley's life easier, well, now you really open up that playbook for what they can do.
Awesome. It's interesting. So I guess I got to represent both of them. Let's see if I can do both of these teams justice. I think for the Commanders, I think one of the storylines coming out of it is going to be the ownership change and how that affects the team. How does that trickle down, right? So once the sale of the team goes through, how long is Ron Rivera's leash? If this team starts, I'm going to say, let's say within the first 8 weeks, if they start 3-5, did Eric Bieniemy leave Kansas City in the cushy, the situation that he had? Did he leave Kansas City to just be an offensive coordinator, or did he leave knowing that, hey, I have an opportunity to be a head coach, which a lot of people felt like I should have got an opportunity years ago with the Washington Commanders? That's one. 2, can Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell be at least comparable and capable in a division as tough as this? Can he take Sam Howell and unlock the potential that we saw, from Sam coming out of North Carolina, a guy who was considered the odds. He was the odds-on favorite. I'm not going to sit here and just he's the odds-on favorite to go first round, and then he dropped. Due to, I don't know, maybe if it was his attitude, I don't know if it was measurables or whatever. I can't, for some reason, Ables are not coming out today. But regardless, can he unlock Sam Howell's potential and get this Commanders team over the hump?
Well, I think that's a pretty good way to put it because, and I know you know your stuff, Court, but me and Eric know what the NFC East is because we live it. It is an unforgiving division for a rookie quarterback. It is a tough place to figure it out. And more than anything, the quarterbacks I've seen in my lifetime be successful, whatever team, even that team we don't like to talk about, more than anything, it's can you get hit and make the next throw?
Right.
I couldn't stand Tony Romo when he played for the Cowboys, but I respected him because that dude was tough.
Yeah.
Same thing with Donovan.
And I can say the same thing about Eli Manning.
Exactly.
Say what you want about Eli, but Eli would get hit, and you thought that was it, and that brother would still get up and then throw a $30 dime. It's the durability of a quarterback in the NFC East, I think, is not only the test, but the testimony of how successful they can be. So I'm in complete agreement with Alex. Sam Howell is going to have to show us something to prove that he belongs as a quarterback in the NFC East. And if he can do that, then I think it's going to open up, the opportunity for Washington to rise above what people's expectations of them are.
And the thing is, like we've talked about a bunch already, this current moment is going to be a particularly tough time for him because all three other teams in that division have multiple guys who are going to hit him.
Yes.
It's not a matter of if, it's when. They're going to put him on his back.
He's going to get welcomed to the NFL real quick.
And if he can, he's going to have rough games against all three teams in the division.
Yes.
Watch what he does against the other teams in the conference, though.
Right.
If he can stay just tough in the division and just keep coming, even if they're getting beat down, but he does well against the other teams in the conference, he's going to be just fine in a year or two.
Oh yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Now for the Cowboys, the first storyline I'm going to say is this: what does this offense look like with McCarthy calling the plays instead of a guy that just went to Detroit?
Kellen Moore?
Instead of Kellen Moore. Does this look more like the Green Bay offense, run to set up the pass, back shoulder throws, attack the boundaries a little bit more? Or does the talent that's on the team limit McCarthy's play calling? That's the first storyline. The second storyline is, how good can this team actually be with so many aging pieces? Because they didn't get particularly younger in certain areas, and they're not particularly old in certain areas. But certain guys on this team have been around for a while. Stephon Gilmore has been around for a while. D-Law, been around for a while. And some of the guys on that offensive line, been around for a while. So it's going to be questions, I think, of how good can this team actually be with aging pieces, and also what does the offense look like without Kellen Moore calling the plays and with McCarthy now being the potential full-time play caller.
I think that's a good one to choose because I think if you look across the whole division, I mean, obviously having been a few plays away in the Super Bowl last year, Philly has been on an upward trajectory and they're at a high point right now.
Right.
And I think you can see New York is on a trajectory that is upward. What the ceiling is, I don't know yet. And I think there's a lot to look at with Washington right now and see a path to something good in a year or two. And I just kind of see treading water with Dallas for years now. Just kind of same thing. Even if they get to a 12-win season here and there, bye-bye after round one. You know, I haven't seen any real forward momentum. And unfortunately, there have been a lot of players on the Cowboys over the last maybe 15 years who I've liked. Like I played tight end. I was the biggest Jason Witten fan in the world, even if he was a Cowboy. And it was almost sad to me to watch that career just kind of stay at the same place team-wise for so long.
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that and simply say, when I look at the teams collectively within our division, there always seems to be like an ebb and flow with 3 out of the 4 teams. With Philly, it's like either we high or we low. With the Giants, same thing. It's like they're either right on the cusp of breaking the glass ceiling or they're just having a down year. And with Washington is just one of those teams where they were just something always wasn't fitting right, trying to fit a round hole into a square peg into a round hole. But consistently, and I don't like using this terminology, but it seems like Dallas just kind of flatlined. Dallas just it's like that coworker that just does enough and is just right there. And they might have every once in a while a moment where it's like, ooh, but then nothing happens. And so for me, I look at that team and I'm just like, for how many years under Tony Romo were you 8-8? And now, yes, last year you were 12-4, and yes, you did get out the first round. You beat Tampa Bay. You beat Tom Brady. Okay, Tom Brady's last game was against the Dallas Cowboys, and he lost. Okay, so for me, I look at that and I'm like, okay, that's great, but then the following week you play against San Fran again, who you did 2 years ago now in the playoffs, and the same outcome has happened. So I cannot look at the Cowboys and simply say to myself, oh, they're going to do something that's going to shock me, impress me, or even, make me the happiest man in the world because they don't have one single win. But with Washington and with New York, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get. Giants jumped out 6-2, and I'm like, we had to stay undefeated. You understand what I'm saying to you? We had to stay undefeated because the Giants were looking at us, and I know those games. I've been to those games. Okay, Washington gave us our first loss last year. We were what, 9-0, 10-0, and the Washington Commanders, a divisional opponent, but the Washington Commanders gave us our first loss. Was I worried about Dallas week 6, even though Dak didn't play? No. DeMarcus Lawrence chirping. Micah Parks is chirping. Don't matter. And then on Christmas Eve, when we almost could have won with Gardner Minshew, come on now. I don't fear Dallas. So for me, it's like, we know what you are. And until you show us something different, I'm not going to see you in any other light.
I haven't feared Dallas until the year started. Since the year started with a 1.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I kind of like to throw these out. So we've talked about Dallas. We talked about the upward trajectory and everything, and I'm kind of glad Eric brought up the kind of flat line, right? It's almost like Dallas is almost comatose, right? It's almost like they do enough just to kind of feed into the delusion and keep us media, right, into buying into maybe Dallas, well, maybe Dallas, right?
I'll tell you right now, I very rarely will speak for another man, but I can tell you, Alex and I don't look at that. We know what Dallas is, and it's July 13th. What we think Dallas is today, I'm willing to bet you Dallas is going to be come January.
Oh, for sure. But I said when I say that as a media member, right? My job is to kind of be unbiased, and I gotta be.
I get
unfortunately, right? So they do just enough to kind of keep you like last year, 12-4, like you said, 12-4. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, Philly. But if they don't run into Philly, could they make the NFC Championship game? Yes, they didn't, of course. But because I would have definitely loved to see Philly versus Dallas
in the
round
NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Oh, Cortland.
That'd have been nice.
Oh, let me tell you.
Even if I never thought of that, because I had every confidence that if they ran into us first, they weren't going to get past us. And I didn't have a lot of confidence us in the playoffs. I know we beat Minnesota.
I did. I knew y'all was beating Minnesota.
I knew Minnesota, but Minnesota.
I knew y'all was beating Minnesota.
Oh yeah, Minnesota is the. So you ever had one of them bags of like Funko, like the Fun Pop, or like the 0-calorie popcorn? That's Minnesota.
Cousins can't win past 4 o'clock.
Minnesota is a bunch of is like this bag of fluffy stuff, right? It looks great. Presentation is great until you open the bag and let the air out.
Kirk Cousins can't win past 4 o'clock. Okay.
Dang, not past 4 o'clock. That's crazy.
Go back and look at his record.
He's right.
If it's a 1 o'clock game, I'll put my money on Minnesota all day long. If it's a 4:25 or a Thursday night or a Monday night or a Sunday night football, the other team has to be playing with their third or fourth string quarterback for me to even think Minnesota is going to have a chance.
Dang, man. But the reason I brought up Dallas and like the flat line, right? Do y'all feel like, and I know this is going to be like asking a 5-year-old kid to forget about Christmas, but do you feel like Jerry Jones needs to take his hands off the team in order for them to get back on track, or at least start to make positive change and kind of catch up with the trajectories of these other 3 teams in the division?
As an objective NFL analyst, yes, that's what they should do. As a Giants fan, oh, please don't, Jerry. Keep doing what you're doing. It's working great.
I second that one.
Because, that's always been my question, right? Is it Jerry Jones, or is it just the ineptitude of the Dallas Cowboys? And everything kind of points back to it's Jerry. Everything that they do has been Jerry. It's almost like the Raiders when rest his soul, Al Davis was still out here like he runs a 4-3. Take him.
Yeah. Who you think Jerry learned from, Cortland?
Oh, I definitely know who he learned from. Just win, baby. But
he's a good owner and a terrible GM. That's what it is.
Right. That's exactly. I've always said this. If Jerry Jones ever had a master class on business, I'd be the first man to sign up. But if Jerry Jones ever taught a class on how to be a general manager of a national football team, you couldn't pay me to go to that class.
Oh, yeah. It's 2 men that I would never want to learn the business from. That's Michael Jordan and Jerry Jones. But that's another story for another episode. But now we get to get into a little bit more fun. I'm going to go ahead and put it down here at the bottom. We get to talk about division standings. As I do with every episode of the NFL Roundtable.
Is that last year's?
No.
That's your prediction for this year?
It is. It is last year's, but this is how I think it's going to fall. And
you're wrong. I'm telling you right now, you're wrong.
There's a reason behind it, right?
Okay.
I think the Eagles' ceiling is 15 wins this year. It is what it is. I just think their ceiling is 15 wins. Okay. Jalen Hurts being the best quarterback in this
I don't think anyone here has a qualm with the Eagles being at 1.
Oh yeah, no.
That's not where the problem is.
And the reason I have it like this is because I do this with a ceiling and a floor.
Okay.
So that's the reason.
So what's our floor?
The floor is 10 wins, and the only reason I take the floor is 10 wins is because I think the defense is kind of young, and I think they're going to take a while to gel, and there's going to be some toss-up games in there. I don't think they're going to be bad losses. I just think they're going to be games where it's going to be like, we could have won that if we could have got a stop here. But it's because Nolan Smith was out of place. Or it's because Keely Ringo got beat. It's going to be because of a young guy maybe being out of place and having learned the ways of the NFL, right?
All right. Well, since you're talking my team, let me just throw this in here. You do realize this is how my schedule goes. In the month of September, we play 3 games. In the month of October, we play 5. In the month of November, we play 3 games. And in the month of December, we play 5. Okay, so that's how that goes down. So what I'm saying,
tired on some of them.
Say what?
Y'all gonna have some fatigue in some of them games.
No, the only game that's really going to mess us up is weeks 1 and 2 because we play Sunday afternoon against the Patriots and then we play Thursday night football against Kirk Cousins. But that's a win because he don't win on Thursday nights. And then we got to go to Tampa for their Monday night football game, which all the powers that be, please let me be there. But I'm saying to you is when I look at my schedule this season, and I predicted last year they would go 11-6 because I never want to put myself as that true fan and say, oh, we're going to win it all. No. I've always asked 2 things of my team, and it's very simple. And the initials are BC. Be consistent, beat the Cowboys. That's all I care about. Okay? So my ceiling this year is, I'll say 12 wins. Because first off, I know what I get when I face the Giants twice a year and the Commanders. Very rarely do we sweep. So I'm expecting to be 4-2 within the division. Yeah, we're going to slash the Cowboys. I said it, and I'll continually say it. But with the Giants and the Commanders, I can definitely they're seeing a split. Now, playing Aaron Rodgers week 6 with the Jets, that's going to be a game that's going to turn some heads. We also have to play the defending Super Bowl champions. That's a rematch. Okay? So when I look at my schedule top to bottom, I'm saying to myself, be realistic. Don't be that fan. You say the ceiling is 15. I'll say the ceiling is 14. But I will also sit here and say to you that our floor could potentially be 9 because everybody is expecting us to excel to that level. But if you ask me right now with the division, I'm saying Philly finishes 12-5, maybe 13-4.
Okay. So my number 2 are the Cowboys.
You wrong.
They're sitting. I think there's.
I've been thinking about this, watching this ticker go by over and over.
Mhm.
So I look at Philly, and I mean,
Right.
no reason to bump them from 1. There's no reason to do so. I don't see how you could take, like, what did Dallas do that's going to make them better?
As according to Cortland, Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks.
So
even though he was ineffective last year,
right. So I think the only thing
you lost your offense coordinator and are going back to Mike McCarthy, who had one of the oldest, blandest playbooks the last couple of years he was in Green Bay. On top of it, a team that just seems cursed not to make the next step. And we all spent a bunch of time talking about Dak probably has limitations because I don't think he's ever going to get back to that guy. Meanwhile, you have the Giants. You saw your mileage may vary on how good you think Daniel Jones is, but what you can't deny is that he took a significant step under Brian Daboll.
Right.
No matter where you think he ranks, he greatly improved. Now he has more weapons, a second year under that coach, and a better defense than they had a year ago.
Oh, I think y'all have the second best quarterback in this division. That's not the reason why I have the Cowboys 2 and the Giants 3. The reason I have them 3, and I don't think the gap is that big between the two teams. The reason is because same reason I have the Titans not winning as many games in our division. The wide receiver core. I just got to see it on the field. This could change very well, and I could have to eat crow, and I'm fine with that. These are way too early rankings, right? So we haven't seen them play a snap, haven't seen them play a preseason game. We don't know what these rosters are going to look like. I just think the Cowboys have a better receiving core and a better secondary right now than the Cowboys. They're going to eke out maybe 1 or 2 more games to give them that second spot. But I don't think the gap is going to be that far between the two teams. I don't think either of these teams are going to be bad next year.
So let me give you my way too early prediction on the New York Football Giants this year, because I'm looking at their schedule right now. First off, they open up against Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. Well, that's a win for the Giants right there. I'm biased. I don't care. Cardinals, that's a victory right there. So they're starting the season 2-0. Well, then you got the 49ers. We don't even know who the 49ers quarterback is right now. Okay, and until that starter has been named, I could very easily say to you that even though, the San Francisco defense is a top defense, again, I go back to what we said earlier to here on the halftime show. The blueprint for the Giants has been Daniel Jones or Saquon figure it out, and they still started the season 6-2. So I'm saying potentially, the Giants could start 3-0. Seahawks 4-0. Dolphins, we'll see what happens. Then they got Buffalo.
You think they go 4-0 facing Seattle?
Cortland.
Have you seen what Seattle
I
got
like
up there?
Geno Smith. I like Tyler Lockett. I like DK Metcalf. But that defense has to show me something. This ain't the Cam Chancellors and Richard Shermans and Bobby Wagners of the world.
It's Devon Witherspoon and arguably one of the best quarterbacks in
to me and make me a believer. But I'm telling you right now, they have that potential to get to the same hot start that they had last year. All right? Buffalo, in my opinion, and Miami would be their first 2 tests to where we would see what that team is. Well, then they got a divisional game against Washington, which we know is a coin flip. Throw the rule book out the window. Then you got the Jets. Then you've got the Raiders, who now have Jimmy Garoppolo and Josh McDaniels. John, don't worry about it. You just watch your lips, okay? Commanders again, Mac Jones and the Patriots. Then we get interesting because you've got the new look Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love, the new look New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr, and then you got Philly Rams, Philly. I'm just saying to you, when I look at this, for me, the Giants ceiling, 11, floor,
I agree,
maybe 9.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm landing.
I have them at 8. I have their floor at 8, so I agree. I think Dallas, like I said, I think Dallas's ceiling is 11. I think their floor is 7. That's why I said I don't think the gap is that big. It's going to be some games where, like I said, New York is young. It's going to be some games where they're going to win. It's going to be convincing. It's going to be some games where the
I'm going
Cowboys.
to tell you right now, I don't think Dallas is going to win one game in the month of December.
And
I don't disagree.
We
They're
talked
going to lose to
about
Philly. They're going to lose to Buffalo. They're going to lose to the Dolphins. And they're going to lose to the Lions. Dallas will not win a game in the month of December.
I don't disagree with you.
No, look, we talked before about ranking different positions, and other than running back, I didn't put my own team at the first spot in any position that we put, right?
Right.
But the reason I did that is because even though outside of Saquon, I don't think we have the best group anywhere. What we do have is a strong team across the board everywhere, or at least solid. Now, you talked before about the Cowboys. If CeeDee Lamb gets hurt, who are they throwing the ball to?
Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah. Now,
and Gallup.
The Giants' number one receiver, whoever that winds up being, goes down. Does that change their offense at all?
Nope.
Didn't last year, and now they have more of them.
Right.
So I'm saying is it'd be way easier for Dallas's season to be derailed by a single injury than it will be for any of the other three teams in the division outside of a quarterback.
Megan, so I'm gonna tell you why CD getting hurt, because he's gonna have to do a lot. Because Brandon, he better hope he don't get hurt.
Brandon because Cooks he wear number 88, Megan.
Yeah, and Brandon Cooks is made of glass, and Michael Gallup is also made of glass. So you gotta hope that they stay healthy, and CD don't have to take on the brunt of that force. But
wasn't the Super Bowl against the Eagles where Brandon Cooks got knocked out?
I think so. Yeah,
like the first I wasn't going. Alex, I wasn't bring it up. I'm glad you did because I wasn't going to bring it up. I was like,
I mean, dude is Mr. Glass, man.
I will never forget looking something up about him right after it happened, and his Wikipedia page for about a half an hour said he was dead, and the cause of death was the Philadelphia Eagles.
Jesus Christ! That was a Patriots. That was a Patriots Super Bowl.
But for Dallas, listen, yes, they finished 12-5 last year.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think, like you said, it's going to come down to what McCarthy does as now head coach and play caller. But again, I look at them and I can't, in good conscience, if you ain't winning a single game in December, you're going to get a couple more in between there. You might mess around and lose to, you might lose to Bill Belichick's defense. I don't know. October 8th against San Francisco, to me, that's a telltale game right there. It is a Week 5 Sunday night matchup. Dallas has not been able to be successful against San Francisco when it mattered. So let's see what happens in the regular season. But if I'm talking, 4 and then 5 right there, you mess around and lose one more, that's 6. What's that, 11? I'm saying Dallas's ceiling is 11. Their floor is 7.
I can agree with you there. I had their ceiling at 11. I had their floor at 7, so I agree with you. Their floor at 8, so I agree with you there. And I got the Giants ceiling at 11. I got that floor at 9. So regardless, it's one of those.
If Giants, I'm telling you right now, if Giants get to the same hot start as they do, and Alex can definitely speak to this more than I can. If the Giants get to the same hot start that they got to last year, they'll get 12 wins.
Okay.
And that Christmas matchup between Philly and the Giants will be a classic.
And so, Eric, I agree with you that they may not win a game in December, but the reason that the only hope that I can give you is my prediction for the Lions is that they're going to win their division.
Yes.
And that Dan Campbell is going to rest some guys. I think they're going to win that division convincingly.
Here's the thing. I don't think Dan Campbell and or Brian Daboll are those type of coaches. You know what I mean? I don't think they're their type of coaches. They're going to play their guys because they want their guys to be consistent moving forward, especially with the Giants and or the Lions making a stride forward. I just don't see either one of them coaches saying we're going to rest our guys like that. And I might be wrong.
No, I agree with that. I don't think either team has a roster where you could comfortably say, "Oh, you can turn the switch off and turn it back on."
Right.
So yeah, but that's my own. I was trying to give them the silver linings who win the game in December. But so going to the Commanders, the reason I have the Commanders finishing last in this division is because I have their ceiling at 9 wins. I have their floor at 6 wins. And the reason is because they're young. It's simple. It's just because they're young. It's not because they lack talent. It's not because they're bad. It's nothing like that. It's just simply youth. And we don't know what Sam Howell is up under center yet. So that's my division standings as they stand. You guys have kind of chimed in, but I'm gonna let you guys give your division standings and how you feel like the division will shake out now. So Alex, we'll go with you first. How do you feel like this division shakes out at the end of the year? And what are your reasons?
Eagles 1 for all the reasons we've talked about. Giants 2, because you said it yourself with your ceiling floor. You say Dallas numbers so close. I just trust the Giants more. I've seen it. I mean, for years, just Dallas doesn't come through when they have to. And I would put Washington last, and that's not really a knock on them. I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic for the future going forward with that team. It's just rookie quarterback, there's going to be growing pains. You will lose a couple of games because he throws a bad interception. It's just going to happen. That's what you need to happen to get better and grow.
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to say to you. At one point last year, you do realize that all 4 NFC East teams could have been in the postseason. At one point last year, that was the scenario that almost played out. So I will say again that 3 teams will be getting into the postseason from the NFC East. It'll be Philadelphia, it'll be the Giants, and then I don't know if Dallas and or Washington. Now, granted, Sam Howell could shock us all and be that rookie quarterback that no one's got a lot of tape on, who could surprise a lot of people the first half of the season, and then put the Washington Commanders in a position to where if they do lose a game or two end of October, beginning of November, then they have time to kind of pull themselves out of the doldrums and come back because they will be battle tested. But I fully expect to see the Eagles and the Giants both back in the postseason. There will be a third team from the NFC East. And right now, and I'm not being biased when I say this, I just think that between Ron Rivera, Eric Bieniemy together, they are going to really push this team into that next level. And with Mike McCarthy calling the plays, we are going to see what Prescott, Pollard, CD, and the rest of them are going to be like. We already know what their defense is, okay? D-Law and Micah and Trevon Diggs, they're going to do what they do. We already know this. It's can the offense be the offense that everybody in Dallas wants them to be? I have to see it.
Which is they want a resurgence of the triplets, which it ain't happening. So
My point.
But so Eric, you got the Eagles. You got the Eagles 1,
Giants 2.
Giants 2.
If I have to pick, I'm gonna stick with what Alex said and say only by a very small. I'm saying half a game, maybe even a 1-game difference between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. So I'll go Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Commanders.
Okay.
And that's being unbiased because the fan in me is like it's going to be Eagles, Giants, Commanders. Dallas is going to be 2-15. But I'm going to remain,
Yeah, and so that's kind of how this division is, like how I see this division. Like it's one of those situations where the Eagles are the cream of the crop, no question, right? They're the team to beat. And it's almost like the AFC West, right? Where it's like it's the Chiefs and then everybody else is kind of duking it out for that second, third spot. This is why, and that's how I see it. So it's just one of them situations where I'm just hoping that the Giants can really, and Brian Daboll really just stick it to Dallas and put themselves over the top, right? And I hope the Commanders, and Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy can just, can get that young team to show some flashes. But this is the crazy thing about the NFL. A team that no one has hope in can always come up and wow the judges, right? And have a great season. The Commanders could be what the Giants were last year and just have this hot start and find themselves in postseason. So It's the nature of the NFL, right?
Let me say this to Alex really quick, my brother. September 10th and November 12th, I'm gonna let you know, like Toy Story, you got a friend in me because I'm right there with you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna definitely be watching the sports arena. I'm gonna definitely see what them picks looking like.
Yeah, we're gonna start that pretty soon with our way too early preseason predictions.
Cord, I want to give you a little insight into how I feel in the division. So one of my best friends in the world is a Cowboy fan.
Ugh.
I will say the last time we won the Super Bowl, first person to text me to congratulate me. So I'm going to give him credit there. But he asked me once if he wanted to go down to Dallas and see a Giant Cowboy game there. And I said, yeah, sure. He goes, would you wear your Giants gear there? I was like, absolutely. And he's like, would you wear it in Philly? No. No, I would not.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will. That's like wearing Red Sox gear in New York. That's crazy.
Here's what I'll say. I'll almost top that. So my best friend is an Eagles fan because I got 9 people in my life. I can count them on 2 hands. I got 9 people in my life that I always say I love, honor, and respect are Cowboys fans. And they have said to me, would you go to Jerry World to watch an Eagles game? I said, the only way I'm going to Jerry World to watch an Eagles game is if it is the NFC Championship game between Dallas and Philly. I said, because I'm not walking into that stadium for anything less, number one. And number two, yes, I'm coming head to toe. I'm talking socks, boxes, everything, Philadelphia, because I may not come out of that place. But I said that would be the only way I would go to. And someone said, well, what if Jerry Jones offered you a suite? I said, nope, I'll give it to somebody else. I have no.
I'm just going to let y'all know.
I can't do it as a lifelong, forever and a day Eagles fan. I cannot walk into Jerry World and just be all, oh, this is nice. And no, I am going to be the most obnoxious Philly fan you have ever. Everybody likes me because they're like, you're not like a typical Philly fan. You're right. I'm not. But boy, don't let me go in there.
Eric gonna walk in there with a Philly cheesesteak.
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. I'm gonna walk through security with a bunch of tinfoil Philly cheesesteaks, throwing them at people. Yes, with some extra cheese whiz on it.
Man, so I'm just let y'all know, I don't care. I wear my full armor guy anywhere I go, and it's 2-tone blue. So I'm wearing my gear everywhere. It don't matter. Indianapolis, they gonna see me. I'm gonna be front row and center. But man, so that has been the halftime show, NFC East, NFL Roundtable. Man, like this was a great show.
Because Ashley didn't show up.
Definitely needed Ash on here, man. I needed her energy, but man, I still had 3 great guests. Candy can't be here, so I'll do her closeout for her. Y'all definitely go follow her, Candy Waller, Seawall Sports Entertainment. Go watch Coaching from the Couch, where she brings you all things Washington sports. She has great guests on there. Man, such a bubbly person, such a warm person, inviting person. She does her thing, man. She knows her stuff. So I definitely thank her for coming through, sharing the insight that she gave us on the Commanders. Also, shout out to Ashley. Even though she couldn't show up, she was here in spirit. It's my girl. I always got love for her. Follow her on Ashley Baker 21 on Instagram. Follow her at Ashley Baker 21 on Twitter. Tune into Sports After Dark, Twitter Spaces. Also, go follow Sports After Dark After Hours, the YouTube channel. They got some new content coming. They just got done. Came from Las Vegas, where they were covering the summer league. So definitely go check them out. Check her out. Support those 2 ladies because they are in a man's world, right? Doing and succeeding where they aren't meant to succeed, right? And not enough people expecting to, and they're doing the damn thing. So definitely shout out to those 2 ladies. So Alex, I'm gonna go to you, man. Where can they find you? What you working on? The floor is yours.
Well, if you read any article on the 3-point conversion, if my name's not on it, I was in there though. I do all the editing for everything we put up. I am gonna probably in the next week or 2 have something new coming out, something that little argument with Ray inspired me to write. Little NBA 2000s history lesson, and maybe dispelling some nostalgic myths people are telling themselves about how good that decade was. It wasn't
Oh, definitely, man. And all y'all who see my stuff on 3-point conversion, best believe Alex chopped at least 4 sentences out of it. He corrected some kind of clerical error. He put a comma where there was supposed to be one, and he also put a period where there was supposed to be one. So when y'all see my writing, Alex is the reason why it looks great. But Eric, where can we find you? What you been working on? The floor is yours, man.
As always, it's a blessing to chop it up with some good brothers, man. To my man, the halftime show with Cortland Griffin. Thank you for having me on. A blessing, Alex. It was a pleasure. Like I always say, man, the door is always open for anybody, good people who want to come through the sports arena every Monday night, 10 p.m. You can check it out on my Facebook page, also my LinkedIn page, man. And that's just what we do. We chop it up. We get into some debates. I just really just kind of regulate the whole thing. I just get to sit back and enjoy listening to people who are passionate about what they do, but are also don't come with that bull about what they do. There's my Twitter right there at Eric Wilson TV. That's also my IG. And it's a blessing, man. And I'm excited to see what you do, Cortland, because like I said, you in year 2, man, and you continually, unlike the Cowboys, you are continually elevating yourself, your brand, and who you are. So much love. But many blessings. I appreciate you so much.
And I appreciate you, Eric, man. Again, y'all, this is I love this, and I thank God for giving me a voice. You know what I mean? Giving me the brain between my ears that I know so much sports that I can talk about it. And y'all can find me at DC Griffey on Twitter, at DC Griffey on Instagram. You can also find me at 3-point conversion, where I write on all sports: MLB, WNBA, NFL. I do NFL draft, which Alex hates every draft season. But somebody has to do it, right? But also, man, you can catch me here every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where I'm talking sports. This is the NFL Roundtable. We got 4 more weeks of this. 4 more weeks of this. And then we get back into the regular halftime show where we bring you all things sports from around the globe. So I thank y'all for tuning in. Next week, AFC North. It's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get crazy. If y'all thought these last 2 weeks, if y'all thought these Eastern divisions was crazy, wait till y'all get these Northerners in here, man. It's gonna be wild. Okay. So y'all definitely tune in next week, next Thursday. Be on the lookout for the hype videos. Man, they've been fun to do. It's been fun to look up clips for these teams and get these hype videos because they got me hyped. I'm like, I want to go watch some. I want to go watch Sexy Dex. You know what I mean? Wreck offensive lines, and I want to go watch Hassan Haskins and Big Play Slate. You know what I'm saying? I want to go watch these teams now. So it's exciting, man. And this has also been a fun series for me. But this has been a halftime show with your boy Cortland Griffin signing out. Until next week, peace.